Slight delay in the live broadcast. It's quite a busy week here over on my end, so we're now live for what should be round number 5. So the session is nice and full, which is great to see. We've got 8 drivers, which is fantastic as well. 5 of them are currently out there on track, have actually gone on track, let's see who we have here. Well, we'll get to that actually later on if the keyboard wants to play nice here and actually change the screen that I'm looking at. Let's go to Super Vidu because he's currently already out. Yes, there we go. So it is working. So that's nice. So this, of course, is round 5. This is the Road to Daytona. We are racing here today. It is an open class for Group 3. So that means there's no limitation on the car that you can drive. If it's Group 3 eligible, you can race that car. So far, I've seen just a plethora of Supras. They are absolutely stunning to look at. These are definitely GT3 spec. You can tell by the massive rear spoiler and of course the rear diffuser as well attached to the back of the car, and of course the aggressive styling at the front end. So today we're just going to have one race. It's going to be a 40-minute race as well. We're going to have qualifying for 10 minutes, and then we're going to have a 40-minute race. So it gives us about 50 minutes of on-track action. No practice or that, but of course practice will take place while the drivers are currently entering the session. Now, let's have a look at what the game changes are here, because of course every week so far here at Simulation India, we've had a different set of rules and regulations, whether it be the car, the type of racing we're doing, the format as well has been different, and of course, we're doing something very similar. Well, what I was told was that we're doing something vanilla. I don't think racing around Daytona for 40 minutes is vanilla in any way, shape, or form. Of course, we're not using the oval. We're using the road course configuration here, and that, of course, there are race points that are applicable that have been going on through the entire season as well. There has been a lot of interesting things happening here and there. So a lot of drivers have gelled well with off-road racing compared to tarmac. Some have taken up the challenge of drag racing, and even the ridiculous super special route there where you have the pack racing where you just got a single file line, and obviously it's who's going to be out in front and when. And if you go through the last corner and everyone picks each other up, well, you're going to be in the lead all by your lonesome, aren't you? But of course, the race on hand here is with a 40-minute race, we're going to have at least 1 or 2 pit stops. Now, it doesn't say that they're mandatory, but of course, with the settings that we currently have, i.e. fuel times 5, tyre times 9, now that is the most aggressive that we've had for the tyre degradation times 9 here. Now, that's going to play a real factor in here. Of course, the usable compounds are the hards, the mediums, and the softs. Only race compounds are allowed. I mean, you wouldn't want really anything else. So you don't want all-terrain tyres around Daytona Super Speedway, do you? Because that's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. But of course, fuel and tyre is on. Time is times 15, so we're going to see a change in the time of day here. So that's going to be another challenge that the drivers will have to deal with. Sorry about the fire alarm going on. It seems to be the fire alarm wants to be my co-commentator for this one, so I do apologise. Hopefully it will go off soon enough. Hopefully it won't be us throughout the whole duration. So we'll do qualifying for 10 minutes. It'll be tyre and fuel times 1, so it won't be the same degradation as we'll have in the race pace. And then, of course, we'll have a 40-minute race during the afternoon conditions. Now, I think we'll start in the early afternoon. Of course, with that times 15, we'll probably get to the evening at some point during those 40 minutes, and that, of course, will spice things up ever so slightly here. No tuning allowed, no NOS either, so there will be no extra advantage from nitrous oxide. All the cars seem to be fitted with turbos, but there will be no tuning allowed, so all the cars will be level pegged in terms of their setup. So that will be, again, it will be down to the drivers and what they can do and the cars that they have underneath them, mainly what the driver has, to be honest. Yes. That is the setup for this weekend. I think it's actually our last, our penultimate round, come to think of it. I think we've got one more round after this, which will be our 6th round, which will take place later on this month. It'll be in about a week's time. So we're just waiting now for the final driver to join the session, and then we will be going qualifying here. So it looks like we've got one driver at least chosen a GT40, so that's good news. That looks like a Supra, indeed it is. That's another Supra, and another Supra. Supra. So 6 Supras and 1 Ford GT. It is Japan versus America at the moment, and let's hope it doesn't stay that way. Let's hope the 8th car that joins the session has something different, because that would be quite nice. Don't want to see all the same car. Then it becomes more of a spec series, doesn't it, rather than an actual full-fledged mix of cars here. So again, it's interesting to note that, of course, that we have the tyres and of course the fuel here on, because of course this adds another element to the challenge. It's not just going to be standard racing here for 40 minutes. No, we're going to have to consider the strategy. How are they going to play this out? There are teams, but there's no real team game here. We had teams last time out, didn't we? No, instead now it's every man for himself that's going to go up against one another, and of course that's going to be interesting. Phantom Shadow's just joined the session, so that's good news. Let's check what car he's driving. Any guesses on Supra? Oh, it's a GT. Fantastic. So we've got 2 GT40s in the field. So we've got 2 cars represented. We've got Toyota, and of course we have Ford. So interesting, to see what's going to happen here. The 6 cars, Toyotas, 2 of them are Ford GTs. Good thing that we've got the lights on the side of the car so we can see where they are on track. Of course, now with that final driver added to the session, or entering the session even, we can go qualifying here. So 10 minutes of qualifying for a 40-minute race. And I've just come back from a 40-minute race as well. So a long round of endurance racing essentially for me here. But this one, of course, is a completely different challenge, isn't it? There we go. I'm just getting myself comfortable, getting myself ready here for this long race. I think this is the longest race actually we have so far in this championship. We have yet to have a endurance round, so to say. So I think the session is just getting started. We have a new host with us here today. One driver has exited the session by the looks of it, so we'll have to get them back in. And I see some fun liveries as well on the cars. More Simnation India branding on the back of the car there. Really enjoyed that actually in the previous round when we had those on the cars. It really added a touch of colour. Really made the cars pop actually when we had those on them. And of course, if you want to rewatch any of the action that we've had so far over the past couple of weeks, you can of course watch it on the Simnation India YouTube channel, where we've got all of our previous races bar race 1. We had a bit of a technical difficulty there, so unfortunately the race was not captured live. It was actually hosted on Twitch during that first race. It was a rather eventful one as well around the iconic Bathurst circuit. So we're just waiting on one driver to enter the session. And it'll be interesting again. This is a different sort of challenge to what we've had so far. We've had races in the past. I mean, we've had tarmac racing from the likes of Bathurst earlier in the championship, but now we're going back to the tarmac here. So hopefully soon enough we'll get underway with qualifying here around the Daytona Super Speed of the International Speedway. Of course, the road course configuration. It'd be mighty fun actually to do this around the oval. It was actually more of a tri-oval, isn't it? Because it sort of has that sort of kink to where the start-finish line, isn't it? Kind of you crest around to the left, isn't it? But of course, the road course really spices things up, plays host to the 24 Hours of Daytona, one of the biggest endurance races on the endurance calendar, and one of the earliest races as well in the season. Of course, nothing beats Dubai, though, with the Dubai 24 Hour that takes place at the Dubai Autodrome. So as we said, we're just waiting now for RKV to join the session. Once he does, we'll go we'll go qualifying for the first time. To set the field up, it'll be a 10-minute qualifying session around Daytona. We're doing 1:47s at the moment. What is the fastest lap time that we've had? It's been a 1:47.034 in this session, and that is the current pace. So with 10 minutes, let's say 4 to 5 laps, probably 1 out lap, so probably about 4 laps of qualifying there. So there's enough time if there is any mistakes or anything like that that do incur for any of the drivers, they can sort of sort things out. So RKV now has joined the session. Now we just wait for him to join the game, and then we can go qualifying here. I think he has actually jumped in the session, hasn't he? Yes, there he is. So he will join us, and then we'll go qualifying here around Daytona International Speedway. This, of course, is the road course, and this, of course, is round 5 from Sim Nation India, the Miglia. As we wind down to a close here. I think this is the penultimate round, if not mistaken. So that means we've just got this round and one more after this, and then that's it. We'll be crowning a champion. What a championship this has been, though. That's the joys of racing online. You can really throw challenges left, right, and centre, and of course, it's not as say, standardized, I guess is the word. No, there's probably a better word to describe it compared to just, bog standard. This is the championship. We're going to do this like this week in and week out. No, instead here at Sim Nation India, we've done something different. We've made it as challenging as possible. So those who may have, better racecraft on dirt, or for those who, prefer drag racing, or those who prefer racing in the middle of the night, there's a different challenge for everybody, and everyone excels obviously at different things. So it's been quite interesting. We've had a real mixed bag of winners. I think the only repeat winner that we've had is actually Phantom Shadow. He's the only one to have won more than one round here. He dominated in the dirt. He was very strong during the drag racing competition as well. Same last week as well. He was one to beat. So he's going to be one to watch out for again here as well. But let's see how he fares on the dirt, on the tarmac, excuse me, because in the first round he didn't fare too well. So qualifying is underway now. It is a 10-minute session that they'll have to qualify here around Daytona International Speedway's road course layout. I love the livery there on the Wildest Monk cars. A real throwback to the JGTC Supra all the way back in the mid-90s and early 2000s. It's a wonderful livery to have on that iconic Castrol livery, and it looks fantastic on the MK5 Supra, doesn't it? Bukaran has got a lovely metallic paint finish on his Supra. It's got like a metallic dark red, very similar to maroon on it there, and of course there we've got a GT40 with we've got some anime on Phantom Shadow's car. I don't think I like Phantom Shadow anymore. He's not my favourite with that paint scheme. And then we've got a GR livery here on the HM Pleb Supra. GR colours always looking fantastic. That red, black and white livery just looks absolutely fantastic for Gazoo Racing. There is the other GT4 of RKV. More of a traditional livery there on his Ford GT. Very iconic, a good throwback there to the iconic GT40s that raced at Le Mans back in the 60s that really took the fight to Ferrari. Another fantastic livery here is Hershey's 20. He's got a mix of colours on it. He's even got the Indian flag on the top of his car as well, but I really like what he's done with the back of the car there, mixing in Sim Nation India and of course the lovely bird motif there too as well. Really adds a pop of colour there. But back to the Wildest Monk in his car. So we completed one lap. Let's go now with the Ancient Player, because he'll be the first driver to come across the line and complete a lap out of the pit lane. A 1:35.063, that is including going out of the pit lane. So that's actually quite fast. I thought that means we'll probably be doing much faster than I thought, because originally I had a feeling we do 4 laps of qualifying with the 1 out lap, but I think we might be able to get 5 laps of qualifying in plus that out lap, seeing as the speed and the time is a lot faster than first anticipated here. But the Ancient Player will be the first driver to come across the line, and he'll be followed by the Ancient Player as they're working their way now through turn 2 there of the speedway. They'll go along the back straightaway, and then there's that kink, or better known as the bus stop, which is a left onto the road surface through turns 3 and 4 of Daytona International Speedway, and then they of course go across the start finish line through the tri-oval and then back down to the left-hander into that nice sequence of corners. Phantom Shadow there picking up the toe, and looks to be going a bit faster than the Ancient Pleb, so that will give him the advantage. He's going to go around the outside on the banking of turn 4. Now they go past the pit entrance. Now what will it be when they come across the line this time round? Phantom Shadow then will be the first driver to put a lap in, and he does a 698, excuse me. That took me a while to get that out. A 145.553 for Super Vidu, who's come across the line. The Ancient Pleb, well, we didn't see what he did. His lap time is not showing for us there. The Wildest Monk's done a 146.792. Buchanan has done a 147.378. Hershey's 20. He's done a 147.861. He's just come across the line now, and well, Fun Anywhere has not put a lap time in because he was straight back into the pit lane, so he hasn't got anything. Phantom Shadow is the quickest man out there with that 144, excuse me, 698. And he just seems to be chilling in the pit lane. Super Vidu, as we said, is the second quickest man out there. He obviously wants to improve his position. I wonder if Phantom Shadow's now just biding his time to see who else has got anything in store for him and see who the real challenge is here. But Super Vidu on a lap here. He's a 1/10 of a second slower though, so unfortunately he won't be gaining any additional time on Phantom Shadow. He'll have to fall in line and try again next time round. Hopefully he'll be able to improve his lap time. Not with that though, another 2/10 of a second slower compared to the last time round. And just in front of him is Buchanan. And he's picking up the slipstream. Very fetching liveries on both of them. Actually, I think these two are actually in a team here. Oop. Someone's apologising there. Buchanan has gone into the pit lane as well. So no improvement from Super Vidu that time round. Good thing is that he's 2/10 of a second up the road from the Ancient Pleb at the moment. RKB does a 146.230. That's good enough for 4th overall. That'll put him on the 2nd row of the grid. Oh, Super Vidu there's on a quick lap here. He's 2/10 of a second faster than he was than his previous best so far. The Ancient Pleb has kind of clawed back some time here. But what can he do? Has he got enough in store? He needs to find an additional 4/10 of a second here if he wants to be on that front, if he wants to be in that all-important pole position. He's currently in with a shot for the top step of the podium. He's 2/10 of a second though up the sorry, podium? No, not podium. It's too early to call the podium. Sorry, a front row starting position. Again, he's still got 2/10 of a second up on his personal best so far, and that will keep him in 2nd for the time being. But what about the Ancient Pleb? Where is he at the moment? Well, he's currently working his way through the banking of turn 2, and he'll be on the back straight. Well, he's 2/10 of a second down, so I think Super Vidu is in a good time. Oh, no, he's not. He's picked up a penalty and he'll be forced to slow down, and that's rather unfortunate for him as well, because then he'll have now just one more lap to do this, and he's coming to the pit lane. I think he's done. I think that's it. I think he said that's it, over, unless he can get a very quick time next time round. Interesting that Phantom Shadow did that one pit stop, and one lap, and is done and dusted. Hershey's 20's picked up a penalty. Let's see what the Ancient Pleb can do when he comes across the line. 1/9 of a second off of the leader, but 2/10 of a second back from Super Vidu, and he improves there by 3/100ths of a second, but that puts him now at 2/10 of a second behind Super Vidu. So he's going to have to improve now on this last lap here, essentially. Actually, no, we've got enough time actually for 2 laps because we've got over 2 minutes remaining on the clock. So Super Vidu's come back out, so I think he sees an opportunity to maybe go faster. I think he's maybe swapped tyre compounds. Maybe that's why he's gone into the pit lane, because we did see the team hop over the wall. The pit crew, that's what they're called. They're called the pit crew. So if you just joined us, welcome to round 5, Road to Daytona, here at Sim Nation India for our 5th round of the championship. This, of course, is qualifying. We're about to set up the field for our 40-minute endurance race, and it's going to be quite an interesting one here as the Ancient Pleb goes 0.2 of a second faster. Now, that would put him provisionally ahead of Super Vidu if he can keep up with this pace, but let's see what he can do. Remember, he picked up a penalty in on the previous lap where he's going faster as well. But, well, he's still 0.2 of a second faster, which is good news. And that'll put him 3/100 of a second faster compared to Super Vidu. But Super is back out as well as he cuts the grass there, does the Ancient Pleb. It looks to be that the game allows him to do that. But will this be the lap that puts him onto the front row of the grid? Through the banking of turn 4 he comes. Now back onto the front straightaway. He'll go through the tri-oval here at Daytona. And he'll come across the line. Will he put him in second? No, it doesn't. He was 0.09 of a second faster, so he lost some time there through Sector 3. All that time that he gained was not enough for him. So one more lap for him to do this time round, whereas Super Vidu at the moment, he's gone through as well. Remember, he just came out of the pit lane, so he'll have to wait a little bit longer. Or better yet, we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see what he could do. Phantom Shadows is not coming out of the pit lane by the looks of it. No time, no point there. So one lap in the books, done and dusted. He got that pole position that he needed. But what can Super Vidu do? Well, he's 0.4 of a second slower. Unless he can find those 0.4, he will not be challenging for that top step of the podium. It's not a podium. We're not there yet, are we? I'm getting excited already about this 40-minute race. No, this is, of course, for a front row start for Super Vidu, currently in second, but he'd like to be on pole position. He'd like to be the one that leads the field through that left-hander first. Of course, he'll be on the outside line in the banking through the tri-oval, so he'll be a little bit further up the road than he'd like to be. And unfortunately, I don't think he's got it in him to take away the top step of this qualifying session, that all-important pole position. So he races his way through the bus stop, trying to pick up the toe from Bukaran, but it's not working at all for him. He goes high on the banking. Fun anywhere, there's a 147. Doesn't move, doesn't improve him into the top 5 though. He goes 7th fastest. The Ancient Pleb there across the line. He'll settle for 3rd, but he did close that gap up. Super Vidu there across the line. His fastest lap though, a 145 that will keep him on the front row of the grid. And I think that's the end of the session there for the drivers, as all of them have come through. So indeed it would be Phantom Shadow will be your pole sitter after just completing 1 lap. It was more than enough for him, so he will be the man to start from pole position. Alongside him will be Super Vidu. The Ancient Pleb will line up in 3rd with RKV alongside for company. Bukaran will start on the 3rd row of the grid with the Wildest Monk alongside for company. Fun Anywhere will be in 7th, and lining up alongside him will be Hershey's 20 at the back of the field on row number 4 for this 40-minute race. No more times to be said. Unfortunately, Hershey's 20 only got time there to do one qualifying lap there, so that's very unfortunate for him. So we'll get ready now for our 40-minute endurance race here. And I'll have to settle in to a groove of my own here as well. So the drivers will be on the medium compound for the grid start. And we'll have to rejoin the session once it goes live. Well, 6 seconds. Oh, the countdown has begun. We're edging closer now. Oh, there we go. It is time now to go racing. Now, I'm going to spectate because the grid has been set up. We're going to get you some data on the screen so you can see everything. We'll see the speed, the trajectory of the car, the turbo, the fuel, the tyres as well, because of course we'll all play into our hands here. 5 lights are on. We're going to go racing here for the first time today. It'll be a 40-minute race here around the Super Speedway. RKV dropping down into and in front of Super Vidu as well. Not a great start there from the man that started in second. A great start though from Phantom Shadow. He really got the jump that he needed in that Ford GT, but RKV in the second of the GTs follows him through. Super Vidu tucks into third as they work their way now through Sector 1 here for the first time. Now, of course, the race conditions have changed since the qualifying. During qualifying, the degradation for tyres and fuel was just 1. Now it is 5 and 9, with tyres having the biggest change there. 9 times the speed will the tyres degrade here, and it will be very, very tough here for the drivers. It's going to be a 1, possibly a 2-stop strategy here for these drivers, and let's see how this all pans out. Actually looks like they've got some softs on these cars, don't they? Super Vidu certainly running on the softs. I guess these the choice between softs, medium and hard here, the 3 tyre compounds that the drivers can use. But it's a great start so far from Phantom Shadow. He's under pressure from Super Vidu. It's 0.2 of a second separating the two of them, and there's a further 0.8 of a second back to Bukaran. The second of the GTs has dropped back into 6th position. That's RKV, who's dropped down the order. The ancient pleb there in 4th, and you can see Hershey's 20 from the back of the grid. A great start from him as well. He's up in a 5th place, so there's been a bit of a coming together, I have a feeling, further down the order. And that's why we've had a bit of a shuffle here for these drivers. So Super Vidu now leads. So we have a new race leader, and he's extended his lead to 0.8 of a second already. So through the bus stop there, he got the jump on Phantom Shadow, and he's now moved up into the lead of the race. And here come the Toyotas. They're swarming the Ford here as they work their way now through turn 4, and they make their way through the triangle to complete the first lap. And we're going to go 3 wide for Phantom Shadow, Bukaran, and the Ancient Player. Great run here from Bukaran. He's looking on the inside. A great move there from the Ancient Player. He saw the opportunity, he took it. Phantom Shadow just closed the door on Bukaran there to ensure he doesn't sneak his way through. And there we go. So we'll have about 20-ish laps of racing. I think we'll be closer to more the 18, 19 minute mark, depending on how many pit stops we do here. But you can see the degradation on the tyre there. You can see the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, excuse me. We've got the 4 white bars where it says right RM, front of the top and the back. That, of course, is the racing compound of tyres, and Phantom Shadow, of course, is on the medium compound. The Ancient Pleb also on the medium compound. Now, looking at the two cars, it seems to be both of them quite evenly matched when it comes to putting that pressure on the tyres. It seems to be the tyre, though, that's wearing the most is the right rear, by the looks of it, is wearing the most out in comparison. It looks like it's evenly between the 3, so front and left, and then the front left and right, excuse me, and then the rear left is wearing on even terms, but the right rear appears to be wearing out faster. The Ancient Pleb's just got 11 seconds faster than this opening lap, which is good news, so that means he's going to try and catch the race leader, Super Vidu. But through the bus stop we go here now for the second time. Vidu leads by 0.6 of a second, but here comes the Ancient Pleb. He's got a good run exiting the bus stop, and here he comes now on the banking, as there he is, trying to pick up the toe now. He certainly has got that toe, and here he comes. He's got a full head of steam here, working his way through 3 and 4. And that is the Super Speedway 3 and 4, not corners 3 and 4 here. He certainly did pick up that toe, and it seems to have worked well. Here he tries going around the outside through the tri-oval. That's not where you want to be. It would be best to be on the inside, wouldn't it be? But he's gone through, and he's very late on the brakes, and he takes the position away, going into the left-hander there through turn 1. Is that Phantom Shadow who's gone off? No, he's just got really loose there through the corner, and that is, well, that was him trying to make a move, wasn't it? And it just hasn't paid off for him whatsoever. So he'll have to continue on with his charge. So 2 laps in the books. We're on lap number 3 here for our 40-minute session here. As we continue on, Phantom Shadow under pressure now from RKV, the second of the Fords, and he's being pushed out wide. Again, that tyre degradation is quite a fair bit, actually. In just 2 laps, we're approaching almost a quarter of the rear tyre at the back right, or the rear right, sorry, to really degrade quite quickly. Remember, fuel is a factor into play. We've actually lost a quarter of a tank, at least in the Fords. The Supras are faring a little bit better. But not so much. Actually, no, the Fords are actually doing better in terms of fuel economy, which is quite a surprise. Would have thought they would be a little less economical. No turbos though in these cars, they're naturally aspirated. Here comes Bukaran, he's got a good run on the back of Phantom Shadow as they enter and exit the bus stop here for the third time. Side by side, RKV and Bukaran working their way through the banking of 3 and 4 onto the front straight towards the tri-oval again. Good battle here between these three. Phantom Shadow is leading the pack, but here comes Bukaran. He's going to try and do what Super Vita did, the Ancient Pleb did on the previous lap. Oh, and RKV there gets in the back of Phantom Shadow. Very late on the brakes there, exiting the tri-oval. This, of course, is round 5 of our championship here as part of Sim Nation India, as Bukaran is pushed out wide and he loses control and he hits RKV there due to no fault of his own there. He just lost control of the car. It's quite difficult to regain control as well when you're off into the grass like that. It really upsets the car, and it seems to be Bukaran has just lost his... lost everything there. We're down to 7 drivers for some reason. We've lost a driver in all of this, but who have we lost? We've got the Ancient Pleb, we've got Super Vita, we've got Phantom Shadow, Fun Anywhere, RKV, Hershey's 20 and Bukaran. Who is missing from the list? Who has had a technical problem in this race? And wow, the tyres there, the softs really falling off there on the right rear there of Super Vita. He's really pushing it hard. Not too much there on the mediums. Of course, the softs will degrade much faster in comparison to the other 2 tyre compounds. Of course, they'll wear away the fastest. The mediums, sort of that medium level. Of course, the hards will degrade the least amount there in this race. So it'll be interesting to see the tyre compound they choose to use next after this, because of course they won't be able to use the same tyre compound. I don't think they'll have to use another set, either the mediums or the hards. So it'll be interesting to see what they use that. But no doubt, Super Vita is going to have to come into the pit lane, or else he's going to have a real wobbly right rear, and that will really upset the car. Remember, it's a rear-wheel drive car as well, so all the power is being sent to that rear axle. And it's going to start sending him loose in a couple of corners. He can really start to push it, but I think either this lap he's definitely going to have to come in. If he does it on the next lap, he's going to have to. That's going to be a real interesting one there. I think he's going to get very loose, and he's going to lose a lot of time as well to the Ancient Player. Better to come in sooner rather than later to ensure that you're still ahead. Although let's keep an eye on that right rear. As you see there, he's already getting squirrely through a couple of corners, and that's that grip that he's not able to do because, of course, with the power going to that rear axle. And that right rear degrading that way, it's just not getting the grip that he needs, and it's unsettling the car, so he has to be really cautious, and you can see that cautious route is slowing him down. However, he is starting now to pick up the toe through turn 1 and 2 here, through the banking of Daytona International Speedway. We're now onto the back straightaway here between our 2 race leaders. The Ancient Pleb leads by 0.4 of a second, then it is Super Vidu who is currently in 2nd place, but that right rear tyre is of concern to all the drivers, that is, because of course it's not just Super Vidu's one that is eradicating itself into a different realm. It is, of course, for the entire field that right rear will be fading off, and it's interesting that it is the right rear that is fading off so quickly. Does Super Vidu come in the pit lane? No, he doesn't. He's going to try and do one more lap on those tyres. He's going to have to come in next time round, and here we go. He's got a good run here. Can he find a way through? Not quite. He's going to have to stay and settle for 2nd position for the time being. 0.4 of a second is the gap between our 2 leaders. Let's go a bit further through the field though. Let's go down to the Ford GT, the leading GT as well of the Phantom Shadow 07, our pole sitter. It's not fared too well for him, though, with that naturally aspirated V8. Fun Anywhere is in the Toyota Supra. Again, he's on the soft as well. Just look at the degradation there on that right-hand side again. It is so quick. It's 5 laps in, and they have to come in for a pit stop here. And, well, we've elapsed 9.5 minutes, or just over 9.5 minutes, but they have to come in at least at that 10-minute mark. Hershey's 20, he's on the medium compound. You can see a little bit less wear on that tyre compared to the soft. RKV also on the medium tyre. It actually looks like the Fords are able to keep a little bit more of that tyre going, so I think they might be able to extend their pit stops here. Now again, it's quite interesting because the Ford is the heavier of the two cars. Well, balance performance is obviously on, but the Ford is still quite heavy in comparison to the Supra. Now, Buchanan has picked up a 3-second penalty. Not sure where he's picked that up from, but that's quite unfortunate for him, because that will slow him down even further, because he's now 28 seconds behind. And actually, the reason he's 30 seconds behind is because he's done a pit stop, because look at those fresh tyres that he has on his car. So that means on this previous lap, he's done a pit stop. The Ancient Pleb will stay out for an additional lap. This man right here is going to have to come in. Look at that right rear tyre. It's just red. He has to come in this time round. If he stays out, he's very, very brave. And there he is. He's into the pit lane, isn't he? So he'll do a tyre change. We'll have a see what tyre compound he goes onto. He'll get a splash of fuel as well. Well, more than a splash of fuel, because he'll have to refill that tank, as he's got just over a quarter of a tank left in it. Super Vidu in. Hershey's 20 is in as well. He'll be doing a tyre change. I actually want to see what tyre compound he'll go on. So he's on the softs. Can we see the tyre compound from here? Not quite. We can't make it out, but Hershey's 20 will also come in and do a pit stop. This will give Buchanan a chance to catch up, but he's being forced to slow down, and wow, that is a massive slowdown there for him. It looks to be Buchanan was in the pit lane a number of times already. He was in the pit lane on lap 1, 2 and 5, looking at the screen, which seems rather interesting, because he definitely didn't look like he was in the pit lane at either of those points. He was much further up the field. So the pit stop has been completed for those drivers, for Hershey 20 and Super Video. They are back out on track. Hershey's 20's gone on the hard compound, and Super Vito's gone on the soft compound again, so it looks like they can apologies, it looks like they can use the same tyre compound to continue on here, so that's quite interesting. So that means Super Vito will have to definitely come in again after another 10 laps of racing. Sorry, another 10 minutes of racing, not 10 laps, because we've only completed 6 laps here. Well, Super Vidu has. The Ancient Pleb has completed 6 as well. He's on lap number 7. Well, he's currently making his way through the banking of turn 4. And, well, as we said before, the time is set to 15 times. So that means we are now racing at night. So a new challenge approaches here for the drivers. The night can certainly be a bit more trickier here. While the track is lit up, it's the infield that isn't lit up as much as, say, the super speedway is, and it can make things quite interesting here. You can see just how bright it is along the back parts there of turn 3 and 4 compared to the infield. There's a number of dark spots around the infield, which will really give these drivers a real challenge here as well. As Fun Anywhere is into the pit lane, he will get off the soft compound, and he'll presumably put on either the mediums or the hard, or he may even go for the softs again. But of course, if you're only going to do it on the softs, you have to come in the pit lane a few more times compared to everybody else, and that of course puts you at a deficit. So the medium compound tyres seem to be faring quite well. They've elapsed the first 10 minutes of racing, now into the 13th minute of racing, and they're still going reasonably strong, but I think the Ancient Pleb is going to have to come in this time round to top up that fuel tank. Now the good thing is with a track like Daytona is you can use the banking to your advantage. You can kind of coast your way through there and use the momentum and the angle of the corners to kind of glide your way through. Of course, it's not great if you've got a car right up behind you, but of course it does let you ease off the pedal, and of course then you can save some fuel. So of course the Ancient Player will be doing a bit of fuel saving here. He's trying to keep it about 150 miles per hour as he works his way through the corners, and he should come into the pit lane. He'll take that sharp left now. He does indeed, so he's into the pit lane. So Phantom Shadow has yet to come in. I think he might do it as well because he's running on empty. So is that right rear, so he'll come in and do a tyre change, fill up the car. Let's see what RKV can do. He's actually fared a bit better on those tyres compared to the two cars in front of him. He will take that sharp left-hander into the pit lane. Indeed he does. Super Vidu, excuse me, he's already done a pit stop, so it looks like he will retake the lead of the race here, ahead of the Ancient Player. But wow, RKV really stretched his fuel tank there. He came in with 0% of his fuel remaining in there, so he was essentially on fumes. He was coasting his way through 3 and 4, no doubt. He had to be super cautious on the on that in lap there, and Super Vito retakes the lead, but he comes out just in front of the Ancient Player. Of course, Super Vito has a couple of laps on those tyres, so they're up to temperature. The Ancient Plebs might not be on the temperature that he wants. It looks like he's gone on the softs, has the Ancient Pleb. So of course, nice fresh set of tyres. He's got a bit more grip, but of course he doesn't have the temperature in the tyres at the moment. So of course he'll be wanting to kind of get to grips with it. He's going to want to stay with Super Voodoo, not allow him to escape up the road. And you can see he's really stuck with him there through the infield as they continue on here. We've successfully elapsed 15.5 minutes of racing. That leaves us with 25 minutes, or less than 25 minutes of racing actually on the clock now towards the end. As we said before, unfortunately we've lost a driver. I'm still trying to figure out who exactly we lost. I just can't remember the 8th driver that we had. It's quite unfortunate as well that we do have a driver missing. It's not a good thing to have during these races, but that's the thing with sim racing. It's kind of like a mechanical issue. You can have a technical issue during a sim race, and here we go. The battle for the lead is on, and it'll go through turn 3 and 4 on the banking. Super Vito on the high side, the Ancient Player on the inside. He's got a good run, but they both actually got good runs. The Super Vito, though, he's going to try and carry that momentum through. There's a bit of side drafting going on there. They don't get too close. They keep off each other, but the Ancient Pleb will retake the lead here at Daytona International Speedway. We're using the road course configuration. If you just joined us, hello and welcome to round 5 as Super Vito dives to the inside, or does he, as the Ancient Pleb shuts the door on him as we work our way through the infield here for the 10th time around Daytona. Of course, with Super Vidu choosing to go on the softs for a second time, that means he'll have to come in the pits a little bit earlier compared to the Ancient Pleb, and I can imagine Super Vidu might be saving the hard compound tyre for the last 20 minutes of the race. Now remember, those tyres kind of lasted between 10 to 12 minutes of this 40-minute race. That means at least he'll have to come in twice. I think most drivers actually come in twice here to do a tyre change. It is possible to do a one-stop race, but you have to be on that hard compound tyre. I don't think we had anyone on the hard compound before the start of the race. Hershey's 20 went on the hard compound, and I have a feeling he might be able to go all the way to the end, although it might be cutting it close on fuel. I think he might have to come in to do a second stop just to fill up the tank. I think he could go all the way with the hards though, but then do you really want to be in the last 10 minutes of the race with a set of hard compound tyres with about 50% of their lifespan still on them? No, I think it's better to do a tyre change, but he could save some time though in the pit lane without changing tyres, but probably a good idea to change those tyres. Bukaran had a strong run earlier on, but unfortunately he went in the pits quite early. He also picked up a penalty that really slowed him down exiting turn 4 of the Daytona Speedway, and that's put him in a real deficit. However, he is ahead of Fun Anywhere, who appears to be not having any fun. He is on the infield there, and unfortunately just missed the braking point, and around he went. So he is struggling there at the back, is Fun Anywhere. Now he is still circulating. Of course, he'd like to catch up. Maybe he can catch up during the pit stop cycle. You never know what will happen. So Super Vidu back into the lead of the race here ahead of the Ancient Pleb by 0.4 of a second of the two. And why don't we jump on board? Actually, let's jump on board with the Ancient Pleb and see what it's like with one lap around Daytona. So this is the view of the Ancient Pleb at the moment. He is right tucked up behind Super Vito, and you can just see how close he gets, how late he brakes. There he dives on the inside on Super Vito. He says, thank you very much, I'll take that away. Super Vito doesn't challenge him too much, but you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, the headlights ablaze in the the driver's side wing mirror, and also the rear view camera shows Super Vito just dropping back. So why don't we jump on board now with Super Vito and have the positions have reversed, because now he is behind the Ancient Pleb, and he's picked up so you can see that he's picking up that speed. He's got a run now. Can he make it through into the bus stop? He's going to dive to the left-hand side, a bit of a shunt there on the back straight. Now that's definitely a NASCAR move there, a bit of a bump and run. But through the bus stop we go, and through the left-hander, now back onto the banking. The Ancient Pleb has picked up a penalty. Now that's interesting. So he'll be forced to slow down, so that means the race lead will go back to Super Vito. And actually, you see, look, the Ancient Pleb is already slowing down before he gets to that marker, because of course, what happens in Gran Turismo, you see those two yellow beacons there on the right-hand side. Now that was not where you should have been, Super Vito. You knew that was coming, but good thing that ghosting is on here, because otherwise that could have been absolutely disastrous. So let's go back now to the rolling shots, because unfortunately the keyboard has decided that it doesn't want to work anymore. It's sort of given up already, so we have to use the controller to navigate our way through the cameras. So we'll just keep it now on the beauty shots here, essentially, here as we're working our way through the infield again. It seems to be the battle is between these two drivers here, the Ancient Pleb and Super Vito at the moment. They're battling 0.5 of a second. The leading Ford GT, Phantom Shadow 07, is a little bit further back. He's 8.1 seconds, and that's what you get when you have that livery on your car. No, I'm just joking. Unfortunately, he's just tumbling back down the order, isn't he? Of course, with the harder compounds tyre, he can't get as much grip as, say, the softs are, because, of course, they will heat up a bit more and provide more grip. But of course the medium tyre compound will last a bit longer, so of course he'll be able to go longer in comparison to both the Ancient Pleb and of course the race leader Super Vito, who I have a feeling will have to come into the pit lane in another 2 laps. As we're now approaching 22 minutes of racing. We have successfully lapsed 21 minutes, relatively incident free, but here comes the Ancient Pleb on the inside again. He's got a good run through turn 2 that time round of the super speedway. He says thank you very much, and through the bus stop he goes in the lead of the race once again. So the Ancient Pleb back out in front by 0.3 of a second, but what can Super do through the banking now of turn 3 and 4? Can he retake the lead away? And let's see, because this is where he got the lead last time round. He's got a good run again. He's picked up that toe as we're through the tri-oval. So the Ancient Pleb leads by 1.2. Oh, sorry, that's not the gap there. It's 0.2 of a second is the gap between them. But again, heavy into the braking zone for our top 2. So through the infield they go. 0.5 of a second is the gap between our top 2 at the moment. And a further 20 seconds back to RKV, who is in now in 3rd. So what's happened to Phantom Shadow then? Because does that mean he's gone into the pit lane? No, it hasn't. RKV has gone through. That means Phantom Shadow has had a problem somewhere and he's dropped down to 4th place overall. So that puts the lead GT now in the hands of RKV. As now he's up into the top 3 on the medium compound tyre as well. And just look at the softs though on Super Vito. He's going to have to come in. But then again, he did leave it the last time round. He went all the way down into the red because he's still got a 1/4 tank of fuel left there in his car. So he can kind of stretch it out for another lap and kind of do what he did before. I can imagine it's going to really upset him and it's going to really lose some time now to the Ancient Pleb, because he's got a bit more left in his softs, excuse me. As they're through the bus stop and they'll be up through the banking of 3 and 4 once again, and it looks like the Ancient Pleb is on a good lap here. He's gone purple. Can he beat the best of 1:45.580 that was set by Super Vito, who unfortunately is dropping back? Remember, he can't apply that much power to that right rear or he's going to lose the car completely. Does he dive to the pit lane? Yes, he does. He's coming earlier than expected, has Super Vito. So across the line there, the Ancient Pleb does not get the best lap of the race. It's a 1:45.609. He was 3/100ths of a second slower than Super Vidu's fastest time. So Super is back in the pit lane. What tyre compound is he going to have on this time round? Well, let's watch and see, shall we? Those look red, and I have a feeling those are the mediums that are going on. Or is that the hard compound, actually, that is going on? Actually, I think it's the hard tyre, because the whites would be the softs. Well, let's wait and see. It is a medium compound tyre, not the hards. So he continues on now in third place, so he's just got out in between the two Ford GTs, so he's still within the top three, and he'll be good to go towards the end of the race, hopefully, if his fuel tank allows him. RKV is definitely going to have to come in again because he's on the quarter tank of fuel. The race leader, though, faring quite well, actually, on this run. He hasn't burned up as much fuel as we would have thought he would have. So it seems to be the ancient player has learned the ancient technique of saving fuel through the banking of 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the International Speedway. So the ancient player leads by 22.9 seconds. Of course, he'll have to come into the pit lane and do another pit stop to get a splash of fuel. He'll also have to change his tyres because, of course, that right rear is fading away. And it still baffles me why that right rear is fading more than the left tyres are fading off. It might be due to the banking of the super speedway corners to why the rears are falling off much faster. At least that right rear is falling off much faster compared to the rest of the field. But let's go through the field again, because the ancient pleb leads by 23 seconds now to the good of this man right here, RKV, in the leading Ford GT, who in turn is 4.7 seconds now up the road from Phantom Shadow in the GT. So we've got two of the GTs in the top three, and that's a good way to have the Ford GTs. 1, 2 will be better, but of course having two of the Fords in the top three is always a fantastic thing to have, as the rest of the field have chosen the Super GT3. Super Vidu, race leader earlier on, was starting up with the ancient pleb. He sits in fourth place at the moment. He's 4/10 of a second back, as Hershey's 20's come in the pit lane on the hards with 1% of his fuel left in his tank. Again, cutting it real close there. There he is in the pit lane. He'll come in and do a tyre change. Bukaran is in sixth position at the moment. He's 37 seconds adrift from Hershey's 20, but 9.2 seconds up the road from his closest rival of Fun Anywhere, who is the seventh car on track. And he's just exited the bus stop, and through turn 3 he goes, and he will be on his way for another couple of laps, because of course he doesn't have to come in sooner. Well, actually he might have to come in the next lap, because that fuel gauge is getting rather empty. The good thing is when the fuel gauge is empty, the car is a lot lighter, so of course you can go faster, which is good for the tyres, because less weight on the tyres which means the tyres will last longer. But when you have low fuel, well, you're going to run out of something, because of course these internal combustion engines, they need fuel to run. They need to constantly burn that fuel to keep running. If they don't have any fuel to burn, well, unfortunately you'll come into a complete stop. But for the ancient player, it doesn't seem to be any time stopping soon. That right rear is starting to fall off. Is he braking? Is he going to take in that left-hand turn? He is indeed. So he's going to come in and he's going to change tyres. RKV then could take the race lead here. It'll be the first time we have a Ford GT out in front besides the very start of the race. But then again, Phantom Shadow lost the lead pretty much immediately after he went through and across the line. So we haven't had a Ford GT lead a lap yet. I don't think he'll lead this lap either, because of course the pit garage for the ancient pleb is a little bit further up the road, but RKV comes in. Phantom Shadow also comes in, and it seems to be they're taking on fuel. RKV, they're leaving it to the very end there. Huffing on fumes was his car engine, but Super Vidu, I think, will be good to go to the end of the race as we fast approach the last 10 minutes of the race here around Daytona International Speedway. Of course, this is the road course version. They do use this in NASCAR, of course. They use it in the 24 hours of Daytona. Actually, I don't think they use it in NASCAR anymore, at least in the Cup Series. I don't think it's been used for a number of years now. It was introduced during Corona all those years ago, and it was a fantastic place to race around. But of course, when you have the iconic Super Speedway in Florida, you've got to use the Super Speedway, haven't you? Served as the opener to NASCAR Cup Series, also the Xfinity Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. But of course, today it's playing host to some racing from SimNation India, who have decided to take over the road course to do battle here for round 5, road to Daytona. 5.4 seconds is the lead from to the ancient pleb to Super Vidu. Now it looks like he's done a pit stop. He did, didn't he? Yes, he did, because of course RKV and Phantom Shadow were trying to catch up to his back bumper. But of course, Super Vito would much prefer to be in front of this man right here. He is currently 6 seconds adrift. I think he's good to go to the end of the race. The Ancient Pleb is good to go to the end of the race. RKV is good to go as well. He's got a fuel tank full, and he's got a nice set of fresh mediums on each corner, so he'll be good to go to the end. So this man right here, Phantom Shadow 07, he was on form in qualifying. He did a magnificent opening lap. He did one lap of qualifying and decided to stay out because he just knew that no one else would get close to him. I don't know how he knew that, because of course anything is possible, especially during qualifying session, but he qualified on pole, now sat in 4th position. Hershey's 20, currently in 5th position, came from the back of the grid, didn't have the best qualifying, but it's fared a little bit better in this race here, and he's been actually dicing up a little bit further up the order as well. Now, Bukaran has not had the best race here so far. He is ahead of Fun Anywhere, but he's not really been in the fight here for a lot of things. He hasn't been really in the thick of things. He was dicing it up quite early on, but he's going to try and push these softs all the way to the end. I have a feeling he's going to have to come in, and he's going to have to do a pit stop as well before the end of the 10 minutes. Because remember, it's a 40-minute race here. It's a timed race here in round 5, road to Daytona. And of course, he is going to have to come in because either that fuel gauge is going to go to empty or that right rear is going to fall off. Fun Anywhere, he's good to go to the end of the race. Maybe he can benefit from a position there and get 6th position away from Bukaran. But for the Ancient Pleb, he continues to lead here around Daytona. And, well, he doesn't want to be looking in his rearview mirror. I mean, he needs a telescope to look 7.7 seconds behind him, but of course that keeps him in front of his closest rival of Super Vidu at the moment. So no real close battles at the moment. This is one of the closer battles that we have between our top two as the Ancient Player works his way through the penalty markers. No penalty to be applied this time round for him, so he's not automatically slowed down. Now it looks like though he's closing up on Fun Anywhere, 43.6 seconds adrift from Bukaran, but he is further away from the Ancient Pleb. It looks like he was struggling there through the infield as well, was Fun Anywhere. Looked a bit squirrely through those corners, but there you go. You can see Fun Anywhere just in the top left of your screen. At the bottom there is the Ancient Pleb, and that is obviously going to be a bit of an issue. Might be problematic for the Ancient Pleb if he catches him in places such as the bus stop or anywhere through the infield. It could really throw him off there as well, and that obviously give this man a chance here to start catching up. 8.9 seconds adrift. He would like to get closer to the back bumper of the race leader. But 8 minutes now remaining in the session for the Ancient Pleb, Super Vidu and RKV, your top three. And actually we've got a battle brewing here between the two GTs. So let's have a close eye on this battle here between our pole sitter, who's currently in 4th, and RKV, the two GT separated by just 0.3 of a second. This, of course, is the battle for the 3rd step of the podium. And it looks like it might go all the way down to the wire as Phantom Shadow closes in very close to the back of RKV. Don't take your fellow car out. Work together, boys. They will work their way now through the banking of turn 1 and 2. Now they're both on the mediums. Yes, they are. And Phantom Shadow trying to look on the outside and go side by side. He won't have the inside line for the bus stop. And he'll have to brake a lot later if he wants to take that move away. Oh, that was very close. He just cut the nose off there of RKV, and that puts him into 3rd position now. So Phantom Shadow goes up into a podium finishing position. He's 0.2 of a second down from his personal best here around the Daytona Super Speedway, or better yet, the International Speedway, the road course as well. And it seems to be my calculations for the amount of laps that we complete is completely off, because I estimated between 18 and 20 laps completed with 2 pit stops, and that doesn't seem to be the case at all, because we're now on to the 19th lap of the race here. We successfully completed 18 incident free. I should put that in quotation marks because we've seen a few bumps, we've seen a couple of spins as well. But let's go back now to the race leader, and how far back is he from this man right here? Well, he's still a couple of corners back, but of course for him, he continues on. A 1:45 to 3:20. So the Ancient Pleb has finally got that all-important fastest lap of the race, but there's no extra points here in Sim Nation India for that fastest lap. He's just got it for bragging rights over the rest of the field, but of course he'll be happy with that as well, to have that fastest lap of the race here. Now, can we see how far back? No, we can't see how far back Super Vito is. He's 10.9 seconds behind at the moment. Trying to find some time here. And we have just under 6.5 minutes remaining now on the clock for the Ancient Pleb, Super Vito, and Phantom Shadow, who's now been able to put 0.8 of a second between himself and RKV, and it looks like Phantom Shadow has found some speed here, because he's now gone purple through sector 2. Through the bus stop we go. What can he do on this lap? Can he chase down Super Vito? 17.3 seconds. He's gone 0.2 of a second faster through that sector, so no additional time gained there. Do we have 4 sectors around here? Yeah, we do. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, we do. There's interesting. Well, we have 4 sectors here around the Daytona road course. Across the line goes Phantom Shadow. 0.8 of a second off of his best time. A 1:45.521 though that time round. 0.2 of a second off of the Ancient Pleb's time. And if you want to talking about off his best time, that was his best time that time round. He improved by 5/100ths of a second. Of course, he want more time to gain than that. He's actually starting to claw back some time on Super Vito. They're both on the mediums, but it seems to be the Supra is using up more of the medium compound tyre compared to the Ancient Pleb. We've also got an issue here with Super Vito in the terms of fuel. It seems to be he has not got a lot of fuel left in the tank. He's just got over a quarter left, but the race leader has almost half. Actually, has half of his fuel tank remaining. Super Vito has just over a quarter. Phantom Shadow has just under half. RKV is unfortunately dropped out. What has happened to RKV? The second of the 4 GTs has dropped out of the session. Now that is very unfortunate there, because he had a very strong run. Well, that gives Phantom Shadow a bit of breathing room. It elevates Hershey's 20 to 4th position. It elevates Bukaran to the top 5, and of course it puts Fun Anywhere up a position as well, and he'd be absolutely delighted with that. Hasn't had the best running so far, but of course attrition is attrition, and that moves him up. No matter how he gets that place, that will be more points for his championship campaign here in Sim Nation India. What a turn of events. That's the second driver that unfortunately has dropped out of the session. But for the Ancient Pleb, he's going to continue on. And I wonder if he can continue on with those softs. I think he can muster up the courage to continue on for 3 more minutes on those soft compound tyres. Again, it's that right rear that seems to be wearing away the fastest. That's the one that's handling all of the load in the corners. And I think it is through the banking of turns 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the speedway, where they're really leaning on it. Now, the thing is, though, with the front-wheel drive cars, they're putting a big load on that rear axle, because, of course, that's where power is being sent. And, of course, well, the degradation on the tyres isn't as significant on the other 3 tyres compared to that right rear, which still is still confusing to me, but that's what's happening here. So, of course, the Ancient Pleb is going to be a little bit light-footed now, because, of course, he wants to save fuel. He wants to save his tyres as well. But for Super Vito, he's going to continue on here on the medium compounds. He's got to be very careful, though. I think he's going to have a problem with fuel. He might just make it on fuel, but he's going to cut it real close. We've got now 2 minutes remaining on the clock officially of this 40-minute race. Of course, it'll be 40 minutes plus whatever lap is left, because the Ancient Pleb obviously won't come across the line exactly when we hit 40 minutes of the race completed. He will come across probably just before and of course that means we'll go for one more lap, and for Super Vidu, he better hope that the Ancient Pleb goes across the line exactly at that 40-minute mark, because we've got at least 3 more laps in the book for Super Vidu, and let's hope that fuel tank stays with him. If not, he's going to have to come in and do a splash and dash there. It won't put him at too much of a deficit, but it will close the gap between himself and Phantom Shadow. And as we go to Shadow now, and he's picked up that 1.5 second penalty. That's very unfortunate for him, because he was actually catching the back bumper there, but I see that's cost him quite a lot of fuel on his car, and he is currently in third. But let's go with this man right here, the Ancient Pleb, who is circulating around. He's in the infield at the moment, or he's just about to exit the infield. It's through the left-hander he goes, and he'll go onto the banking now of turn 1, of the Super Speedway. So up on the banking he goes, through the left-hander as well. He has to be very cautious though about that right rear tyre as well. I think he can survive an additional lap, as here we go through turn 2 here. And then we'll enter the bus stop for one final time. And actually, we might be lucky for the drivers here. For the likes of this man right here, he's running on empty. He has to hope that this will be the last lap when this man comes across the line, when he's just exited the bus stop. He's through the banking with 20 seconds left on the clock. He's going to be coasting as well. He's going to take it nice and easy. Will he get across the line? I think he will not make it with 40 minutes elapsed. Here we go. He's going to cut it close. No, 40 minutes elapsed. Checkered flag out. That was the final lap, and the Ancient Pleb wins it there with 13.7 seconds between himself and this man right here. Very lucky for Super Vidu that he'll go across the line with no fuel in his tank whatsoever, and he will definitely splutter back to the pit garages. What a drive though from the Ancient Pleb. Phantom Shadow though, our pole sitter, dropped down in the early stages, had a good fight for third position overall. It's going to be close to him as well, because here he comes, he'll be huffing on fumes as well when he comes across the line, and that combustion engine will just screaming desperately for fuel as across the line he comes, celebrates by hitting the wall. Hershey's 20 comes across the line, he'll also be on fumes as well. Wow, their strategies really paid off there. They were really cutting it close. I think if you had one more lap, if the Ancient Pleb slowed down a bit, went a bit faster through the last couple of corners, I think we would have seen a couple of drivers go out on fuel there at the end. But Bukaran, as he works his way through turn 3 and 4 for the final time, he'll be the 5th driver across the line as well. It's a shame for RKV what could have happened with him. He certainly could have been on the podium there at the end, but unfortunately the technical difficulties caught him out, and Fun Anywhere will be the last driver then to make his way through the banking of turn 3 and 4, and he'll be the last driver to come across the line to collect the checkered flag here, and he will come across the line in 6th. We started with 8 drivers, we're down to 6 here at the line, and here comes Fun Anywhere through the final corner into the trial that he goes here of the Super Speedway, and across the line to be the 6th and final driver there. But for this man right here, the Ancient Pleb, he is victorious in round 5. There is confirmation. He gained 2 positions from where he qualified, a nice clean race as well from the likes of the Ancient Pleb. So great drive from him there. A good job all around from our drivers. It's unfortunate for the drivers that fell, that did not complete the race. Unfortunately, as we said, the Ancient Pleb was the winner, but for RKV, he lost out there in the last 10 minutes, just dropped out the session. But thank you so much for joining us for round 5. We'll be back next week with round 6. Of course, more action coming your way, and of course, another challenge, another curveball, another day of racing. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.